When a man hurts you, kind of see him like TAS. Ladies, listen to me clearly. There comes a time when a woman has to decide, I'm not going to break because of someone who didn't see my worth. And when that man thinks he's left you shattered, confused, or desperate, that's your moment. Not to fight, not to cry, not to beg, but to confuse the hell out of him with your silence, your strength, and your glow up. He expected you to call. You didn't? He expected a breakdown. You upgraded. He expected drama. You gave him peace. That's how you confuse a man who thought he had the power to define your worth. Let's be real. When a man hurts you, he's expecting a reaction. He's used to women chasing, checking, confronting, explaining, crying. But here's the plot twist. You don't owe closure to chaos. You don't owe explanations to disrespect. You don't chase someone who was okay watching you cry. You don't beg a man to treat you right. You teach him how to lose you in silence. Now let me tell you the real secret. Your peace is louder than any text you could send. Your glow after pain, that's what confuses him. He's scrolling your stories wondering, why does she look better now than when she was with me? Because you stopped pouring into someone who only took and started pouring into YOU. You went quiet, not because you had nothing to say, but because you decided your energy was too expensive for someone who couldn't even value your presence. And don't confuse confusion with revenge. This isn't about games. This is about boundaries. This is about rediscovering who you are without the emotional roller coaster. Because a woman who's healed, leveled up, and emotionally free, she's unrecognizable to the one who tried to break her. He wanted to watch you fall. But now, he's watching you rise. Confused, shocked, silent. And that's exactly where you leave him. In the mystery of the woman he almost had. So the next time you get hurt, don't clap back, don't scream, don't chase, confuse him. By protecting your peace, by walking away with class, by building a life so beautiful, he questions everything he lost. And while he's trying to figure you out, you'll be somewhere laughing, glowing, living, unbothered. Because a woman who knows her worth doesn't retaliate, she radiates. Thank you. There's a moment after betrayal, after disappointment, when the world expects a woman to crumble. He expects you to lose it, to break down, to call, to cry, to chase after the version of him that you thought loved you right. But you don't, you won't. Because what he doesn't realize is, you're not broken. You're built different. A man who hurts you often counts on the chaos he created to keep you emotionally entangled. He's banking on the fact that your heart is still trying to make sense of the damage he caused. That you'll scream or beg or spin in circles trying to get closure. But that's where you shift the game. That's where you catch him completely off guard. Not with anger, not with bitterness, but with calm, radiant peace. You see, peace is powerful because it's rare, especially after pain. A woman at peace doesn't need to perform pain for anyone. She doesn't need to prove she's unbothered. She is unbothered. And that's not because she didn't feel deeply. It's because she learned to rise quietly. That silence he hears after he hurt you, that's not weakness. That's evolution. That's a woman choosing herself in a world that told her to break for love. That's a woman refusing to let chaos write the next chapter of her life. You don't match his mess with mess. You meet it with maturity. And nothing rattles a man more than realizing he no longer has access to the version of you who tolerated the bare minimum. Your calm is not passive. It's active strength. It's sitting with the pain, acknowledging it, and deciding, this will not define me. It's wiping your own tears, putting on your crown, and walking out the door without slamming it. Because you're not leaving angry, you're leaving whole. And it confuses him. Oh, it terrifies him. Because now he's questioning, why isn't she reacting? Why isn't she texting back? Why does she look better now than when she was with me? Let me tell you why. Because a woman at peace doesn't perform pain for approval of someone who caused it. She doesn't lose herself trying to prove her value to a man who couldn't recognize it when she gave it freely. She steps back. She lets go. And in that stillness, in that elegant silence, she becomes a mirror. He sees everything he did wrong and everything he will never have access to again. That's what your peace does. It reflects his loss without you having to say a single word. He wanted you to chase, but instead you healed. He expected you to fall apart, but instead you fell in love with yourself. He thought he could control the ending, but you picked up the pen and wrote your own. There's a type of woman who, after pain, becomes louder, messier, desperate to be seen and heard. And there's another kind, the kind who gets quiet, who retreats into herself not to hide, but to refine. She turns pain into elevation. She builds a life so full of joy, freedom, and clarity that the man who broke her wouldn't even recognize her now. That's you. Your peace is your protest. Your radiance is your revenge. Your stillness is your strategy. Not because you're trying to win against him, but because you've finally chosen to win with yourself. You don't need to slam doors, write long paragraphs, or play emotional chess. Just be still, be soft, be sacred, be glowing. That's more confusing than any game you could play. Because now he has to sit with the silence, sit with the void, sit with the version of you that no longer needs him to feel validated. And that, queen, is how you confuse a man who thought you would break. You don't break. You become unshakable. And once he realizes that the version of you who chased is gone, that the woman who begged is buried, and the soul that once settled is now soaring when someone wounds you, especially someone you trusted, it's instinctive to react, to cry out, to confront, to demand answers, to prove you didn't deserve the pain. But there is a greater, more powerful choice available to you. Don't react emotionally. Elevate intentionally. Transforming hurt into elevation doesn't mean you ignore the pain. It means you channel it. You let that fire burn through your excuses, not your energy. You let it cleanse your old patterns, not consume your self-worth. Because here's the truth. No man, no betrayal, no heartbreak gets the right to break your spirit unless you hand him the pieces. So instead of spiraling rise, you take the disappointment, the silence, the betrayal, and you alchemize it. You decide that the energy he didn't value will now be poured back into you, into your growth, your goals, your glow, your grind. Let him watch you level up. Let him see you invest in your health, your mindset, your appearance. Not to get him back, but to get yourself back. You change the way you walk, not out of pride, but out of healing. You change the way you dress, not to get attention, but because you remembered your art. You change your standards, your circle, your boundaries, not out of spite, but because you now know your worth. He thought hurting you would make you small, that you'd chase, lose control, act out of desperation. But instead, you grew quieter, stronger, sharper. You walked away from what broke you and walked straight into your power. Here's the part that really flips the script. You don't even announce your elevation. You let your silence speak. You don't need a grand comeback, just one powerful evolution. Let him see the glow up. Let him see the peace on your face, the fire in your stride, the joy in your aura, and let it confuse him. Because a man who hurts you will always expect access. He thinks just because he cracked you, he can still reach you. But when you shift from hurt to healing, you become unreachable on that old emotional frequency. He can't find you there anymore. You're too busy evolving. He's looking for the woman who needed him, the woman who would have waited for closure, who would have broken down over a text that never came. But you're not her anymore. You've upgraded. You've elevated. You've emotionally outgrown the situation. That's what real confusion looks like. Not revenge, not games, just pure transformation. The kind where you stop trying to be understood and start becoming undeniable. You build your business. You protect your peace. You surround yourself with people who pour into you. You work out, read, travel, learn, heal. You reclaim your mornings. You reclaim your voice. You create goals so high and dreams so loud that his memory becomes background noise. Because a woman who turns her pain into power is unforgettable. Not because she tried to make a man regret hurting her, but because she became someone so powerful, he regrets losing access. And what does he do during all of this? He watches. He watches from a distance, wondering how you transform pain into presence, how you went from crying to captivating, from doubting to divine. He replays the old conversations, the chances he ignored, the ways he underestimated you. And every time he sees you shine, he's reminded not just of what he did, but of who you became in spite of it. Let him drown in that confusion. Because when you level up in silence, the noise you create in his mind is deafening. He won't understand how you turned the same pain that was supposed to break you into a stepping stone. But you'll know. You'll know that every moment of hurt was fuel for your rise. Every unanswered call was redirection. Every emotional letdown was the push you needed to evolve. And now, instead of reacting, you're responding with results. Not just a new look. A new life. And in that life, his name doesn't echo anymore. His absence doesn't hurt because your glow became your closure. Your boundaries became your healing. And your elevation, that became your revenge. But you don't call it revenge. You call it rebirth. Let him sit with the silence while you walk in your radiance, unapologetic, unreachable, unshaken. You didn't just survive what he did. There is a kind of power that doesn't shout, doesn't demand, and doesn't destroy. It simply withdraws. Not to hurt, not to play games, and not to be dramatic, but to protect what should never be handed to someone who can't handle it, your energy. When a woman disappears after being hurt, most people assume it's about punishment, that she's giving the silent treatment, that she wants to be chased. But the truth is far more powerful, far more sacred. She pulls back not from a place of spite, but from a place of self-preservation. She's not trying to make anyone feel what she felt. She's just finally realizing she doesn't need to explain her pain to the very person who caused it. That's not punishment. That's protection. That's wisdom. That's the moment she stops bleeding for people who never brought her bandages. Pulling back is not cold. It's conscious. It's saying, I love myself too much to stay in a space that drains me. And that withdrawal, that quiet, graceful vanishing act, it's unforgettable because most men are used to noise after they hurt a woman. They expect the texts, the tears, the confrontations, the breakdowns. But when all they get is silence, not the silence of bitterness, but the silence of someone who finally saw the truth and walked away with dignity, that's a whole different level of confusion. That kind of silence speaks volumes. It says, I'm not here to argue. I'm not here to fight for a place you were careless with. I'm not here to perform pain to get your attention. It says, you had access to a version of me who loved deeply. You lost that access. It says, my peace is not up for discussion anymore. And that's what makes her unforgettable. Not because she made a scene, but because she made a decision. A decision to protect her energy like it's sacred. Because it is. Every time she cried. Every time she forgave too quickly. Every time she explained herself to someone committed to misunderstanding her, that took something out of her. So now she's guarding what's left. She's rebuilding. And no, she's not doing it loudly. She's not posting every step of her healing journey. She's not proving a point. She's not baiting him with cryptic messages. She's simply gone. Quietly. Completely. Gracefully. And it messes with him because he knows she could have gone off. She had every reason to lose her composure. But instead, she walked away with her head high, her spirit whole, and her boundaries unshakable. That silence, it's louder than any voice message, louder than any late night rant, louder than any dramatic exit, because it forces him to sit with what he did, alone, with no audience, with no closure. Meanwhile, she's evolving. She's in therapy, at the gym, reading books, building businesses, reclaiming her joy. Her days are getting brighter. Her heart is getting lighter. She's remembering who she was before she was made to feel like too much. She's not just healing, she's thriving. Quietly, consistently, beautifully. And that's why she's unforgettable. Because when she could have burned the whole thing down, she chose to rise instead. When she could have made it ugly, she made it sacred. When she could have played small and chased love, she chose to protect her energy and love herself harder. She understood that disappearing is not weakness. It's discipline. It's alignment. It's what happens when a woman realizes her presence is a gift and she refuses to keep giving it to someone who treats it like it's replaceable. So let them be confused. Let them wonder. Let them scroll and watch and miss the version of you they thought would never walk away. Don't clarify. Don't justify. Don't explain. Because you're not punishing anyone. You're just prioritizing you. And if that's confusing, let it be. Because the woman who pulls back in grace becomes the woman who lives in peace. She didn't disappear to make a statement. She disappeared to find herself again. And once she does,